Chapter 9 The False Prince. An hour seemed to pass before Connor continued. When he finally did, it was in a hushed tones as if he expected the servants' ears were pressed against the door of the room. Some of you believe you've already guessed my plan, he began, but I assure you it is not treason. Indeed, in a roundabout way, it may prevent treason in King Ecbert's court. Carthia is on the brink of a civil war, and very few citizens are aware of it. A major change is coming to the country. What is it? Tobias asked. We all had the same question, but Connor's glare reflected his irritation at being interrupted. I will come to that in a moment, he said. Do you remember what I told you about Valdegrath? He has long planned for the day, and even now has begun to amass those loyal to him, so that he can force the rest of us to give him the king's crown. But other regions are also aspiring to the crown. They are quietly gathering their supporters. In 2 weeks, war will erupt in Carthia. It will split the country along the lines of loyalty and alliances and may pit families against each other, friends against friends, and towns against town. Thousands will inevitably die in that war. Avina, the country of your origin, sage, is watching closely, waiting for an opportunity to strike. They are hungry for our rich farmlands and the minerals our mountains provide. When Carthia is weakest and most divided, Avina will strike and swallow up Carthia with the force of a tidal wave. Avina is a cesspool at best. In a generation will be no better. Connor tilted his head at me. Don't pretend to look horrified at my words, Sage. You know my description of Avina is true. It is, I quietly agreed. Then you hope to prevent the civil war, Tobias said. But you said yourself that you could never hope to become king. Do you remember this morning when I asked how many heirs King Epirk has? Connor said. What was your answer, Sage? Two. But as Tobias pointed out, I was wrong. There was only the crown Prince Darius still alive. Epirk's younger son was lost at sea. The youngest son was named Jaron. Since coming to court, I have been told many stories about him, some of which could not possibly be true with the castle still standing in one piece. I heard he set fire to the throne room as a child, Tobias said, and he challenged the king of Mendenwall to a duel of honor when he was 10 years old. Roden added. He lost, of course, but not by much. So the story goes. We've all heard the stories, I snapped. What's the point? Let me finish, Connor said. 4 years ago, when he was nearly 11 years of age, Jaron was to be sent north to the country of Bimar, always a friend to Carthia. He was sent there not only to be educated abroad, but, frankly, to stop embarrassing the king and queen. However, on the way his ship was attacked by pirates. There were no survivors. Pieces of the boat washed ashore for months, but Jaron's body was never found. I did hear about that once, I said. Avina was accused of hiring the pirates. If King Epert had any proof, he would have gone to war. At least you know about your own country, Connor said. It probably was Avina. Piracy is certainly their style. Some say the pirates have more power there than the Avina king, but Ekber couldn't rule out the possibility that is a border country to Avina. Gillen had hired them. Both countries have easy access to the waters where Jaron's ship went down. My father followed the news carefully, I said. He didn't want the war, no matter what else was sacrificed. If he was still alive, my father would have been honored to fight on behalf of Carthia, Tobias said. I'm not the son of a coward. It would have felt good to defend my father's honor by punching Tobias in the face, but although my father was not a coward, he would have avoided being in a war at any cost. The fact that one of the last things he and I ever fought about. Three regions have made the trip to Isel, the seaport town from which Prince Jaron's ships launched. They seek any proof of his death or his life. His life? Roden sat forward in his chair. Is it possible Jaron's alive? A body has never been found, Roden. But if Prince Jaron were alive, then he would be next in the line for the throne. Not Velder Grath or any other noble could claim it. and Carthia would be saved from civil war. Then Avena would not attack. But it's irrelevant, Tobias said. Ekberg and Aaron rule now. Eventually, Crown Prince Darius will take the throne. Connor leaned in closer to us. And this is the greatest secret of your lives thus far. They are dead. All three of the royal family. The few of us who know the truth have said the royal family is on a diplomatic mission to Gelen. Meanwhile, their bodies secretly lie far beneath the castle. We sat there beyond shock and too horrified to breathe. The news that not just one, but all three royals were dead was impossible to bear. My stomach grew queasy at the thought of it, but I pushed those feelings down. How did they die? I whispered. Murder. We believe they were administered some sort of poison at supper. They never awoke. Any suspects? Roden asked. Connor dismissed his question with the wave of a hand. Don't be naive, Egbert had many enemies, and frankly, I wouldn't trust most of his friends. I believe all three family members were intended victims, clearing the path for a noble to become king. So was it Valdegrap? I asked. A lot of regions suspect him, but there's no evidence of it, Connor said. We shall see who puts himself forward to be king, and then judge. And you hope to find Prince Jaron and stop nobles from fighting over the throne, Tobias said. Not exactly, Connor said. Prince Jaron is long dead, and I can prove it. How? I asked. Connor smiled. I'm afraid for now I must ask you to trust me on that. It's my secret and mine alone. However, since the regents are unaware of my proof, their trip to Isil is only to end any official doubt before another king is chosen. That is where you come in, because you see, many Carthians have small hope that Jaron is alive. Nobody has seen him for nearly 4 years. He would be 14 today, about the same age as you boys. Surely the three of you have noticed certain physical similarities between one another? He paused a moment, and his smile widened. You also have similarities in appearance to Prince Jaron, as he might look today. My plan is simple, really. I intend to convince the court that Prince Jaron is one of you.